Alright, today's video might be a bit longer. Yesterday's video was only 13 minutes long because we do have a bit of a lesson today. We are going to review PAV. We've talked about PAV before. Let's see, do you remember what does PAV stand for? Well, it does not stand for pear, apple, violet. PAV is perimeter area volume. And so we have talked about effects on perimeter and we talked about effects on area. We have not talked about effects on volume. And so we're going to review just the basic concepts and what's going on before we hop into some practice on our review. So if you do not have out your Unit 7 review, please find that, pause this, and get your Unit 7 review out. So what we have here are just some cubes. You don't have to draw these. You don't need to take notes. I just want you to follow along. And this cube, each edge is 2 units long. On this bigger cube, where we've had a enlargement, this cube has edge lengths that are 6 units long. So what is our scale factor? If we take each edge length 2 and multiply it by what? We get 6. So if you said that we have a scale factor of 3, that is exactly right. So we're going to find all these measurements for our cube. What is the perimeter of the base? Well, 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 is 8 units. What's the total surface area? Well, for surface area of a cube, there's a couple of options you can use. And so, yes, we can use pH plus 2b. Very much we can use that. That is our formula. But problem solvers also understand that each face is a square. Each face is a square with an area of 4. So 2 by 2 is going to be 4. And how many faces do we have on a cube? We have 6 faces on a cube, so if we take our 4 square units here and multiply it by 6 faces, 4 times 6 is going to give us 24. And I'm going to prove that it's the same thing if we use our formula. Perimeter 8 times height of 2 plus 2 area of the base, which is 4. So this is 16 plus 8 will give us 24. And the volume, what is our volume? Well, it's area of the base, 4, times our height of 2. And so 4 times 2 is 8 units cubed. And this is units squared. So just like we've had PAV 1, 2, 3, you'll notice our units 1, 2, 3. Now we're going to find all these same measurements over here. What is the perimeter of our base on this square, on this cube? If we add up all the sides, 6 plus 6 plus 6 plus 6, we get 24 units as our perimeter. What's the total surface area? Well, let's use our original formula just for funsies. The perimeter is 24. pH plus 2b. 24 times 6 plus 2 times area of the base, and the area of the base is going to be 6 by 6, which is 36. And we get 216 units. and 216 units squared, that is for our surface area. Now, if we find our volume, something we've been taught in the past is for a cube, cubes are special in that we can just do 6 times 6 times 6. So area of the base, 6 times 6 is 36, but then times the height of 6. Really, all that is 6 cubed, which again is going to give us 216. But these units are cubed. And so back to this idea of the scale factor. Well, what is the change in the perimeter from the small cube to the little cube? Well, the perimeter is just 8 times 3. What is the change in area? So we go from 24 to 216. Let's see if there is a relationship. The 216 divided by 24 says that this is changed by a scale factor of 9. This is not, even though our scale factor is 3, the area is not changing by a factor of 3. The area is changing by a factor of 9, which just so happens to be 3 squared. And our volume has changed from 8 to 216, so that is a big difference. It is well over, we know that this is well over 3 times bigger, because 3 times bigger would be 24, but 8 is changing by what scale factor? What is our volume changing by a scale factor of? Well, if I do my division, 216 divided by 8, I can see that, y'all, excuse my calculator's being weird. Our scale factor is changing by a factor, our volume is changing by a factor of 27, which is 3 squared. So if we 3 cubed, if we take our original volume, 8, and multiply it by 3 cubed, we will get the volume of the enlarged cube. So, PAV 1, 2, 3. So this, I feel like you are going to do great on. These are the very straightforward problems. And so we're going to go ahead and open up our review and do one before we hit this second topic right here. And so if you would turn to number 18, we're going to just do that one problem. Just kidding, we're going to do 21. If the radius is doubled, what's the effect on the surface area? Well, area is what we need. Doubled means our scale factor is 2. If we want to know the effect on the area, that means we have to take our 2 and square it. Well, the effect on the surface area is that it would be 4 times larger. Let's do 19 as well. If a radius is cut by 1/3, what is the effect on the volume? So we have to take our scale factor and cube it. If we cube this, 1 times 1 times 1, 1 cubed is 1. But 3 times 3 times 3 is 27. So what would be the effect on the volume? Well, it would be 1/27 times smaller. So when we change a dimension, it changes the area and the volume exponentially. So back up to our notes section. You'll notice that these are not the same shape. Okay? Our cube, and this cube, is a 6 by 6 by 6 cube. Has changed quite a bit. What's happened is that now this length is 3, this length is 4, and this length is 12. So you might notice that this front edge, what happened to it? What was the scale factor there? And we should notice that the height is twice as big. And what's the relationship between 6 and 4? Well, the relationship is that 4 is 2/3 of 6. So, how have our dimensions changed? The length has been reduced by a half. The width has been reduced by 3/4, not 3/4, 2/3. And the height is doubled. So let's look at all these measurements and see what we notice. What's the deal with the perimeter of the base? Well, 6 plus 6 plus 6 plus 6 is 24. And 3 plus 7 plus 3 plus 7, I keep saying 3 plus 7, I'm adding. 3 plus 4 plus 3 plus 4, because 3 plus 4 is 7. 7 plus 7 is 14. Units. What's the deal with our surface area? Well, we are going to have to do pH plus 2b. So the perimeter is 24 times the height of 6 plus 2 times 3, 6 being the area of this square. Over here, our perimeter is 14 times the height of 12 plus 2 times the area of 12. 3 times 4 will give us 12. Now time to put these in our calculator. So we found that the surface area of this original cube is 216. That makes sense. It's just like the cube we found earlier. And the surface area of this new prism, because it's no longer a cube, is 192 units squared. Our volume we already know is 216 units cubed for this cube. Well, what's the volume of our new prism? Well, the volume of our new prism is 3 times 3 times 4 times 12, which should be 144 units cubed. So just some general observations. What are some things that we notice? Well, some things that I notice right off the bat is that all the measurements of this shape are smaller than the measurements of our original shape. Now, what's really happening here is if we take all of our scale factors, 1, 1/2, 2/3, and 2, we get this new scale factor of 2/3. 1/2 times 2/3 times 2, we get 2/3. And so what happens with our volume specifically is if we take our original volume and we multiply it by how each dimension has changed, we multiply it by the product of how every dimension has changed. The product means we multiply it together, how everything's changed. So one side's changed by half, one side's changed by 2/3, one side is double. So if we multiply it by this product, we will get our new volume. And I believe this is true for not all the measurements, but for our volume. Only. So you'll run into some problems where it will ask you about the volume. And so here, what are we multiplying by? You'll run into some issues or some problems where it says you have a cylinder, right? The radius is reduced by 1/2, the height is tripled. What's the effect on the volume? So if its radius is reduced by 1/2 and the height is tripled, you'd have to multiply those two together, find the product of how the dimension is changing, multiply that by your original volume to get your new volume. So you'll only see these problems asking about volume. Let's just play around and see what we notice is happening with our other measurements. So if we take 14 and divide it by 24, we get 7/12. And let's just check something out. 1/2 times 2/3. Yeah, it's not 7/12. So interesting. Hopefully when you get back, I will have some more information about really what's going on with the surface area and the perimeter. These problems only happen with volume, and so that's the only time you'll see that. If it's a problem where it's asking about the surface area or if it's asking about the perimeter, all the dimensions are going to change by the same factor instead of other factors. But I'm going to ask around and see if I can figure out, is there a connection between these and our new measurements and what that connection may be. But for now, I highly suggest that while this is fresh in your brain, you go complete these two sections of work. All of these are asking is for the effect. On your test, it's going to ask you for a new volume, a new area. So we have to understand that we first have to change our scale factor to fit our needs. And then if we need a new volume, if we need a new area, we're going to multiply by that new scale factor. So these are asking for the effect. These are asking for a new measurement. And so you'll get to practice both things. 18, 20, 22 through 25. Do those now and then keep working on your review. That's all I have for you today. I'll see you tomorrow.